Hi, I'm Lynn Kuo, and I'm founder of Violin with Dr. Lynn. Welcome to my 4-part spiccato series. In part 1, we're going to be talking about the main differences between spiccato and sautillé, and the 2 main approaches of how you can learn how to play off the string. And in part 2, we're going to be talking about the 4 bow factors for playing spiccato and sautillé. And in part 3 and part 4, we're going to dig deep into the top 5 mistakes that I see people make when they're trying to play off the string strokes. Okay, you ready for all of this? It's violin time. Part 1 is going to be all about the 4 main differences between spiccato and sautillé, and the 2 main approaches of how we learn spiccato and sautillé. So, what are the differences between spiccato and sautillé? Well, spiccato is the number one difference between spiccato and sautillé is the speed of the stroke. Spiccato is a slower stroke. Sautillé is a faster stroke. The second difference is that spiccato, there is a muscular impulse per stroke. In sautillé, there is no individual muscular impulse per stroke. It's a much faster stroke. And in my opinion, there is basically one main muscular impulse per 2 strokes. So I think of it as a down with a rebound on the up. And then basically you're stringing the down bow and the up bow together in succession. The third difference between spiccato and sautillé is that the hair of the bow is actually leaving the string. In spiccato, and in sautillé, the hair of the bow is actually in contact with the string at all times, but it is the bow stick that is doing the jumping for you. And Ivan Galamian, in his book Principles of Violin Playing, talks about this. There is no individual stroke that comes out of the string for sautillé. So it looks like this. Spiccato looks like this. And sautillé looks like this. The fourth difference between spiccato and sautillé is, as I mentioned earlier, the tempo. Spiccato is a slower stroke, and generally speaking, anything that is slower than a quarter note equals 100 is considered spiccato. So if I put the metronome on a slower tempo, let's say at 60, that would be called spiccato. If you were to cross quarter note equals 100, at about this tempo marking is where the border is between spiccato and sautillé. So that's anything faster than that tempo will become sautillé stroke. And as I mentioned, the sautillé stroke, the bow stick starts to jump on its own. This leads us to the 2 main approaches of how you learn off the string strokes, whether it's spiccato or sautillé. So the first main approach that I like to teach my students is the from the air approach. Now, bear in mind that we talked about the spiccato being a slower stroke. From the air approach will get you to a spiccato stroke. So if you were to set the metronome at quarter equals 50, and I don't have my metronome with me right now because I'm on a beach. So if you were to set it at 50, let's say 1 stroke per beat. From the air approach, so you're taking the bow from the air and basically letting it fall onto the string. However, when you do so, you may have unwanted noises. So what I suggest is thinking of the shape of your movement as if it's a saucer shape. So basically this is kind of like a saucer stroke. So you do this in a saucer-like curve stroke, and basically you've got a spiccato stroke. Now, when you put the metronome on quarter equals 50, what you can start doing is 1 stroke per beat, and then practice eighth notes, keeping a saucer shape, and then triplets, and then 16th notes, and then sextuplets, and then 30-second. So I transitioned from spiccato all the way to a sautillé. Then you can reverse it. So 30-second notes, sextuplets, 16th notes, triplets, eighths, 2 quarter notes. So that's the from the air approach, taking you from spiccato all the way to sautillé. The second main approach to learning an off the string stroke is to come from the other direction, from learning a sautillé first and bringing it back down to a slower stroke. So this is what I call the from the string approach. You start with a détaché stroke that's from the string on the string. So if you were to play a simple détaché, what you do is if you were to put quite a bit of pressure on the bow, if you were to say, let's say 100% of pressure is and 0% pressure is this, I would say try about a 65% pressure, 70. So start about there, and then start beginning to subtract the amount of pressure, and you will begin to see the stick, the rebound action of the stick start to jump. That's heavy pressure, subtracting the pressure. Hear the sound changing. And as you can see, the bow, as I subtract the pressure, the stick wants to tell me that it wants to jump. And I let that stick jump until it becomes a sautillé. Heavy détaché. So if this were a 30-second note, 1, 2, 1, 2, sextuplets, 16th notes, triplets, eighths, quarter notes. So those are the 2 main approaches of how we learn to play off the string. From the air approach and from the string approach. All right, tell me which approach works the best for you. If you thought this video was helpful, don't forget to like it and share it with your friends. So don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.